So the reason this matter is on the calendar is because Ms. Morse filed a lawsuit against Jasmine King, Terrell Mason, Lionel Sterling Jr., and Sterling Realty Partners seeking an injunction of some sort. And my review of the docket indicates that Ms. Morse, that all of the defendants were dismissed because they were not served, except for Jasmine King. There is a document in the record indicating that Jasmine King was served with the lawsuit. And once served with the lawsuit, there was a deadline by which Ms. King needed to respond. And my record doesn't indicate that Ms. King ever did file a response. But because of the nature of the relief that is being sought by Ms. Morse, because it is an injunction that she is seeking, we noticed this hearing to give the court, that was one of the requests that Ms. Morse made in her complaint, to give the court an ability to try and understand what's going on and to determine whether or not Ms. Morse is entitled to the relief that she is seeking. And so that's why we're here today. So, Mr. Mason, just so you understand, I can't give you legal advice, but you are technically not legally obligated to be here because you were a party to this lawsuit, but you were dismissed from the lawsuit because no one ever served you with the lawsuit. So I assume you're probably here to be some sort of witness, and that's fine. Just want to make sure you understand you're not actually a party to the lawsuit anymore. So with that, I'm going to start, Ms. Morse, by calling on you. I will let you know that I did receive the materials that you have submitted. I'm hopeful that you also provided those materials to Ms. King in some form because she is entitled to see them or be aware of them. And because I've had a chance to review them, you don't have to go into a huge amount of detail. I think what would be helpful to me, here's what I understand. What I understand is that Ms. King has a legal right to be in possession of the property where she lives, just as you have a legal right to be in possession of the property where you live. And that there is an issue with, I think, in maybe your complaint, some of the materials specifically assert that it's Mr. Mason or others are smoking cigarettes or marijuana or cigars, etc., somewhere on or around Ms. King's property in a manner that you allege is causing that to come into your property and cause you physical health problems.
That's right.
That's what I understand. What I don't actually understand, I did see some of the email traffic about your tenant or your landlord. I don't quite understand how this is not an issue for them to address. And maybe you can educate me a little bit about that in terms of your efforts to get them to address it. And just a reminder that, the standard is that there is no other remedy that I could give you, right?
Right.
And that the damage to you, if I don't grant the injunction, is significantly, it outweighs the potential damage or inconvenience to Ms. King if I did grant the injunction. So that's sort of the structure that I'm working with. And from there, Ms. Morse, I will hand it over to you and give you an opportunity to make a presentation. And then Ms. King, I will give you an opportunity to respond. Okay? Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Morse.
Okay. Let me make sure I have all my stuff together. Sorry. Okay, so to my understanding, Your Honor, Ms. King was served on December 15th and failed to answer. The matter is in default. I do respectfully request entry of default judgment and injunctive relief requested in my complaint. The reason for is relief from prohibiting smoking inside the adjoining unit, along prohibited smoking within 25 feet of my doors and windows, and any conduct that interferes with my quiet and enjoyment of my residence. The police have been called numerous times, close to 8 to 10, because of disturbances related to smoke-related issues. My minor child Was born prematurely at 26 weeks. So he was on oxygen for the first 4 months of his life. When a child is on oxygen that early, he can't be around anything harsh like that. So the secondhand smoke is causing him to first have swollen eyes, nauseated. He does throw up from it. He's never had to have an inhaler, never had any breathing issues after he got out of the NICU, but now he's being prescribed inhalers. We have to go to the ER for breathing treatments. The paramedics was called as well from him having intense reactions to the smoke. The smoke got really bad after I started making complaints. So once I said something in January, throughout, if you look at the text messages in Exhibit A, those start in January. From January all the way into September with Mrs. King, I would communicate with her, or I would come outside and I would ask him to please not smoke in front of the door. Because it's a duplex, it used to be a 4-family unit. And so we share 2 walls. The smoke travels. It's like he's sitting in the room next to me. And if you read some of the beginning emails, she would agree and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll ask him to go outside." I can even pinpoint to which ones if you want me to. But in June, she said, "Yeah, so my baby has breathing issues that was diagnosed 2 months ago, and no one is allowed to smoke inside anymore." That was in June. Once they started running their AC, we would get, I don't know how to describe it. It was like every vent in the house where I eventually had to put cardboard up against the vents. Me asking, "Hey, can you stop smoking?" At first he was, I want to say, he was agreeable because they didn't want me to contact the landlord. So he would say, "Oh yeah, like no problem," but then it would go right back. He always goes right back. It's like it's never a break in between. So much so, my son is being affected. I'm also having breathing issues. I'm also on an inhaler. I had to have breathing treatments and going to the ER. The landlord, he wasn't responding at first. He didn't start responding back to me. I want to say it was in like around, I want to say September. I just want to make sure I have it right. Yeah, okay. So this was around the end of September. That's when he started responding to me. But from July to September, I wasn't getting any responses. And then when I did talk to him, he'll be like, "Okay, I'll handle it." And so I figured it out. So she would talk to the landlord, he would contact her, and she would make it like, "Oh, it's all in her head. She's making these things up." And I'm like, so I'm waiting for him to do something, and he will finally respond. "Well, she said that no one else lives in the unit but her and her 3 children." And I'm like, "Okay, but he also lives there too." "Oh, he doesn't live there." So it became this game that they were playing. Like he lives there, he doesn't live there. But if police come, she's standing at the door and say he doesn't live there. The first couple police calls, she didn't do that. If you
Help
look
me,
on,
Ms. Morse, forgive me for interrupting, but help me understand why you were calling the police, right? Because and I'm not saying that it was wrong of you. I'm just trying to understand what your motivation was, because it's not illegal to smoke a
smoke
cigar or a
inside.
cigarette standing outside, or even in your own apartment if it's your own apartment. So tell me what was motivating you to call the police, and give me an understanding of what was happening when the police were coming.
it's the severity of what started happening. The severity was banging on the wall, playing loud music, um, in the middle of the night, 1, 2, 3 a.m. Um, intimidation, harassment. That's what it turned out to be. The smoking
Hang on. Doesn't Miss King also have small children?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
And his 2 small children live in the unit next as well.
And the
Okay.
reason I asked is just I was questioning to try and put in context, playing loud music and stuff in the middle of the night if you also have
Yeah.
small children that presumably you want to stay asleep. So
Right. But with even on June, that text message right there and all the rest of them show that he was smoking inside the unit, which is causing my son to have severe health issues.
okay, Ms. Morse,
And
can you
myself.
forgive me? I want to go back to something you said a moment ago to make sure I understand. So you said something about sharing that the unit shares 2 walls. Is this like an apartment building or is it like a house duplex? What
Yeah,
is
that's what I
this?
said. It's a house duplex that
Okay,
it was a 4-family that the landlord converted into a 2 and 2. So it's
I
2
see.
bedrooms in each unit.
I see. Okay, so it's one house and you've got half of it and Ms. King has half of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
okay, okay,
I moved in December of 24, and
okay,
I really moved all the way in January of 2025.
okay,
And
okay. Thank
I haven't been able to habit my unit since we moved in.
you. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to make sure I had an understanding of how
Mhm.
the property was configured in terms of their ability to be around the house and what they're doing, et cetera. Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
So then the guests would come over and they would, in the beginning, I would say, like, in particular, guests would come over and then they would smoke, and it there's nowhere for us to go. Like, we live here, and it got so bad, like, you can't even open a window. So, like, you can normally open a window or move to a different room.
Mhm.
There is no opening a window. There is no moving to a different room. There's double vents. So it's a vent on the outside and there's a vent on the inside of the house. And that silver vent, I don't know if those are attached. Some of my attachments weren't going through on the zip drive. I don't know if you got the USB drive.
I did. I did not receive a USB drive. I did receive a PDF that had a significant number of attachments and then an
Okay.
entry of what they were. So
There's a USB drive, flash drive that goes with everything. It was also filed. It's a purple flash drive. And it has all the videos, the body cam footage, and um, just the photos of the most I can show proof of. And that was the reason for calling the police, because I needed documentation. I needed somebody else to see and experience what we've been going through. And
isn't one of the problems that when the police would come, they said they didn't smell any smoke or appreciate any of the concern that you had voiced?
they would say it's a civil matter. So that's why I'm going the court route.
Mhm.
Um, it's a civil matter. So I in my body cam footage on November November 21st, or because I have one body cam footage from September 17th. And all that documentation shows the amount of noise at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then again at 3 a.m. The other body cam footage is, I believe it's November 20th, November around that time, or November 14th. And that one shows the officer saying, "Yeah, I smell it. It's like a vape." He says a strong vape smell. And I even documented that it's around the seven mark, if you wanted to hear him say that.
Mhm.
Paramedics respond, they could smell it. The paramedics responded before the officers. They
So,
could smell
Ms. Morse, let me ask you, when the landlord did start responding to you, there's some communication between you and the landlord
it.
where
Mhm.
He says, we'll move you somewhere else. And
That just happened. Sorry to interrupt.
no, I understand that, I'm not saying that undoes, the difficulties you've had, but why doesn't that solve your problem? Just moving to a different property the landlord owns.
This is a Section 8. It's through Atlanta Housing. So I
Right?
have to go through their process. So I'm finding something, but I had to get my voucher from Atlanta Housing. And then you have to search for a place that takes housing, your voucher. And
I thought Mr. Sterling, I mean, I understand there is a headache of a process to get a Section 8 voucher. I'm familiar with that. But I understood Mr. Sterling, or, the Sterling Properties, the offer was for them to put you in another one of their
no,
properties that they would know,
he
with
didn't say that.
Section 8.
He didn't say that.
Okay.
And if you look at he just said, would you rather move? Maybe you could discuss that with the housing authority.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was after he talked to her. So then I showed him video proof, which she was not too happy about. And that was around January 13th.
Okay. So pretty recently then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
And how long have you moved in December of 24? Is that what you
yeah.
said?
Yeah,
And
it's
then
been a
all the
year.
way in January of 25?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so he finally told me that he's getting ready to install cameras around the unit. That was on February 2nd. Because I said, hey, we're being bombarded again. I don't know what you want me to do. He asked me not to call the police anymore and to just call him. I'm like, hey, I don't know what you want me to do, but I got a kid. He's 7 years old. I even showed Jasmine and Mr. Mason the video. I tried to show him Mr. Mason the video, but I don't know. He was too high. He didn't want to watch it. He went like this. But I was trying to show him how small my son was in the beginning and why he can't be around anything harsh like this. He'll say, "Didn't you smoke weed? Didn't you smoke weed?" No. And even if I did, I'm not smoking it and puff passing it to my 7-year-old. I don't smoke like that at all. And I think he's referring to me talking about being in Chicago and how they had, like, we were
Well, hang on.
communicative at
Ms.
first.
Morris, I don't think any of that's relevant
Okay.
here, right? We don't need, look,
But
I'm going to give
that's
everybody
not the
here
case.
the benefit of the doubt that Ms. King
Okay.
and Mr. Mason are just trying to live their life. You're just trying to
I'm
live
just
your
trying to
life.
live.
We're
Yeah.
just trying to have a conversation about whether or not there is any role for the court here in terms of
Okay.
mediating this dispute. So is there any, I feel like I have an understanding of what, so let me ask you this. When I'm asked to provide an injunction, I always remind the parties, as I did at the beginning, this is what you have to demonstrate, right? And I did that already. And then I always ask, if I were to give you the relief you seek, like if I were to say, okay, Ms. Morris, you're right, you get an injunction, what does that injunction look like? What is it that you want me to order Ms. King? Because understand, I don't have the authority to order Mr. Mason to do anything because Mr. Mason is no longer a party to this action. But what is it that you want me to order Ms. King to do?
Well, I would like you to keep to rule in Mr. Mason's part, as I still have the right to file against him because the harassment level.
I have no control over that, ma'am. Your lawsuit was dismissed because you were not able to get service on Mr. Mason.
Yeah.
I can't give you legal advice, but that doesn't foreclose your ability to sue Mr. Mason.
Okay.
Just this action's been dismissed because you weren't able to get service in a timely manner.
Okay. So, and that was another reason, because she'll say that he's not there when he is.
But
And
again, let's hang on. Let's
Okay.
go back to, I want you to answer my question. What is it? If I were to say, Ms. Morse, tell me exactly what you want. That's what I'm asking you. If I were to rule in your favor and enter an injunction against Ms. King, what is it that you want me to tell Ms. King that she can or cannot do?
25 feet from the property. I can't have the smoke blowing up under my front and back in the cracks of whatever door or window. Her guest has to stay within that distance if they want to smoke. Inside the unit, no smoking inside the unit. I mean, I don't have that much longer there. I need it to last until I find another place.
Okay. Okay. And so that's, if I were to enter a ruling in your favor, what you want is an order that says, Ms. King, you are in charge of that unit and you cannot smoke in your unit or allow anyone to smoke in your unit. And you have to instruct people that are there that they have to be 25 feet away from the outside of the property to be able to smoke outside. Is that correct?
That's correct. But the reason why I'm saying that is because it got to a point where I don't know what was pushed over, but it became like paint thinner. It was more than just black and mild. It was to the point where our skin was like around our face, our mouth was burning, where you couldn't even breathe in the front rooms. We end up sleeping in the kitchen and the bathtub sometime. And I have a right to quiet enjoyment to my unit.
Sorry, Ms. King, can you mute again? I'm gonna call on you in a moment.
I have I have a right to quiet enjoyment of my unit. And
my only concern is Ms. King also has a right to quiet enjoyment of her unit. And one of the things, I understand that your landlord may not be solving your problem, but it feels like this is the landlord's problem and not the court. I mean, I'm not saying you're not entitled to come and ask the court for relief, but it is a little frustrating to me that this seems like a landlord issue in terms of a dispute between two people, tenants who live on his property. And that I think is a little frustrating for me, but that's not really your fault, Ms. Morse. It's just, I'm just frustrated that the landlord has not taken any steps to try and resolve the issue.
Right. And so it's leaving my son with health issues now. He never had to have an inhaler. And then the reason why Miss King, I wasn't even, it was more so I kept asking her, could she have her guest, which is her boyfriend that's not on the lease, and she kept saying, well, he doesn't live here, he's
it doesn't matter if he does or not. That's not an issue that's in front of me.
But the guest is affecting our health.
But now I understand, because the relief you're seeking is against Ms. King, and Ms. King has some control and ability to direct what's allowed in her unit. Whether Mr. Mason lives there or is a frequent guest or an infrequent guest, doesn't matter, right? And so let's go ahead. Let's move on from that.
Okay.
I at this point, I would be likely to call Ms. King and give her an opportunity to respond, unless, do you have anything else to add right now?
Because it was a default. Oh, here it echoes again.
Ms. King, can you mute? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Morse.
Because it was a default and it wasn't answered, I still feel like it should rule in my favor.
So what a default does is it makes the allegations, the well-pleaded factual allegations of the complaint, deemed admitted. But there still has to be, if I take all those facts as true, there still has to be a basis for legal relief that rises from those facts. And that's really what I'm struggling with. You're right. Procedurally, the facts of the complaint are deemed admitted. The question for me is whether those admitted facts actually would require or result in you getting the relief that you seek.
Okay, but you don't even have my video jump drive. So can I do maybe a screen?
Well, let me hear from
Okay.
Ms. King first. And Ms. King, we definitely have been having some audio issues. Ms. Morse, can you mute and see if maybe we won't have the feedback issue when Ms. King unmutes?
Sure.
I will tell you, Ms. King and Mr. Mason, if y'all are in the car together, I have learned from experience that if you have two Zooms that close together, you're always going to get feedback. So I saw at one point you had stepped out of the car. Maybe y'all could get a little further apart. That might be helpful. But anyway, Ms. King, if you'll unmute and see if we can hear you, if there's audio feedback.
All right, sorry, because I was trying. My phone is very cheap. Can you guys hear me?
That is much better. I think Ms. Morse is muted. And nope, it was better for a minute. Go ahead, Ms. King.
Okay. From the beginning, she is correct. They did smoke outside. They never smoked indoors. He had one incident where he did, which was in the restroom, a Black and Mouse cigar. And at that point, because I don't like it myself, I told them, do not come in my home and smoke. They would smoke outside and in their personal vehicles. At each point, Miss Morris ran out of the house and she confronted them, screaming, yelling, carrying on. And I never went out there because she had the right to say how she felt. No one likes or wants to be around smoking. If they don't want to, that's fine. And I encouraged everybody. And I got to a point where I stopped the guests from coming, except for Terrell, because he's going to come and see his kids. And there were 3 separate incidents where she came out and confronted everybody, and she brought a weapon. She brought a sword out and trying to instigate fights every time. At that point, that's when I let my landlord, things have gone out of control. Is it possible that I could be let out of my lease because I don't want to keep having this interaction? Things continue to progress, and it got to a point I said, let me see if there's no smoking at all, if there will be any complaints. To the point of where she's saying it's going through the vents, my AC never works, and I got proof of that. My heating and AC does not work. They installed all new things. It still does not work. I have proof of that. But so I never ran my AC. I always had my ACs are in storage. I had 3 ACs for my unit and 3 heating.
You mean like window units for the
Portable
AC?
heaters and I'm sorry.
You mean like window units for the when you say AC?
Yes, ma'am. um, Once all the smoking and chaos like leveled off completely and there was nothing going on, that's when she started to call the police. And I got my police records. I'm sorry. She would say that we were fighting her and there was a fight going on, and we'd be at the grocery store. I'd be cooking in the house. There were several times where they've come and Terrell has not been there. He dropped us off for the day and left and gone. And it's just continuing and continuing. I have done everything to remedy the situation. My child does have asthma. I have proof of that as well. He cannot be around any smoke. He has severe asthma. And it's been done inside. Every time the police have come, I let them do a full walkthrough of my unit, no matter the time of day or night. I let them do a full walkthrough of my unit in my kids' room, my bedroom, looking in closets. She said, check the bathroom. I told them to go back and check the bathroom. They don't smell any smoke each time. To the noise, he had one incident where a friend was dropping him off, and that friend did come, and I was like, I'm about to call the police. He came and he was playing loud music. Never saw the friend again. That was one time, yes. Why we don't beat on the walls. My child walks very hard. He's 2 years old, got big old fat feet. That's probably what you're hearing, but knocking on the walls, no ma'am. I don't allow that. Playing loud music, I don't like it for myself. I don't do that. She does. And we have body cam footage coming up, you know, in the app playing loud music. And she had done that for 4 days straight. And on the third day, that's when I start calling because during the day, I know that they can't do anything about it. And if I don't like it, I just leave. But they've come and they've caught her in the middle of the night playing music just to make me upset because she's upset. And that's been the whole gist of this. She's upset and she's been trying to instigate fights and trying to get us to, get into it with her. And at each point I did, I contacted my landlord. I wasn't trying to go too much further than that. I do have police reports on her, but I wasn't trying to go too much further. She's a mom, she has a son. I didn't want it to become a thing, but she's continuing to harass me. She's continuing. Terrell, And I told him he can file for himself if that's what he wants to do. But she is continuing to harass me. She's called my daughter out of her name. My daughter is 15 years old. She called her the B word. And she's doing a lot. It's been a lot. And I have been keeping myself together, keeping composed because we're both mothers and I refuse to act out of character. But it's gone over, it's been boiled over. And I've been contacting my landlord. I've asked to be let out of my lease with housing. My landlord, Ms. Morse, has called defects on my home. And she lied. She said Terrell was in the back smoking crack. That I allowed my 1-year-old, he had just turned 1, to run down, up and down the main street, Sylvan Road, by himself. She has said so many things that were untrue. And then when she does, she calls to try to get the police to come to my home faster. She calls and she says there's a fight happening, and I'd be in bed sleep. It's going too far, and I'm trying to keep my composure. And I've asked them to let me out because I knew she just moved in. So I said, hey, my family grew. I had my son. I can leave. I'm not getting any remedy from anyone. So I understand how she feels because I'm not getting any remedy either from my landlord, from housing, from anyone.
Anything else, Ms. King?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Could you mute again, please? Thank you. Ms. Morse, it is your motion, so I'm going to let you have the last word in terms of any response that you want to make to what Ms. King has said.
Okay. So that's why I have video footage. I've never ran after her guests, yelling at them. I have video footage, me asking them nicely, and they got mad. She's talking about a weapon. She thought my son's he has this wooden samurai sword. It looks real. It's from Chicago. It's painted. He came outside with it on the back of his neck. And she thought that was real. But the reason why he had it on the back of his neck is because Mr. Mason started cussing and yelling at me. And she ran up with her fist balled like she was getting ready to fight me. And so my son stood by my side with that. I didn't really notice he had it until after fact. And then, because I saw her bagging away, I didn't know why she started bagging away after she ran up and she kept egging me to come down the stairs. And I said, all this over smoke. You have kids too. I'm telling you, the blowback is getting my house. You're lying. You're lying. It's not. And then her 14-year-old, she was, I think, 14 at the time, she's the same size as me and her mom. And she's egging me on to come down the stairs so they both can fight me. No, I'm not for to fight y'all. And so that was the start of him doing the harassment with the smoke. Defects was called, but I wasn't the caller. The emergency room is. If you keep going to the ER over and over again, they assign you a social worker. My son has one with the ER.
So do you mean that defects was called on you and they came to the house?
Because why is my son having,
I see.
like, he goes to the ER, his lips is opaque, like it's scary. It's like reliving what I went through with him in the NICU, which the NICU is not a forgiving place for a mom, a brand new mom. So to see him having breathing issues, his lips turning white, he's having dizzy spells, he's holding and squeezing his head because of what it was. It wasn't any longer just smoke. It became
So
on a
Ms.
harassment
Morse,
level.
forgive me for interrupting you, but one of the issues that we run into with cases like this, I just want to, I absolutely understand how scary that must have been for you and how difficult it was to deal with issues related to your son's health struggles, right? And I understand that you have an opinion of what's causing those health struggles for your son. But legally, for you to make that argument and for me to consider it, there has to be an expert that can say
You
this is
see
what
it?
this is a thing that's happening
Okay,
and it caused this thing, this health thing. And that's
okay.
not really the issue in front of me right now.
Can you look at the medical records under exhibit?
I understand that you have the medical records and I did see them. And
Okay,
again, I don't question that your son is having these health struggles.
it literally says secondhand smoke in the medical records.
I understand that. I don't doubt it, ma'am, but I'm just telling you legally, I'm not sure that I'm not sure that when you start talking about that it is other things, right? That you start smelling chemical smells and there are other issues. I'm just not sure that issue is really before me.
Can I
Um,
say one thing?
yes.
Why has it stopped since I started making filings?
Well, if it has stopped, then why do you need an injunction?
The chemical smells
I see.
has stopped.
Okay.
The black and mild, the weed has not. It's faint. It's not as strong on some days. The weekends is strong. There, I don't know, the pictures didn't come out clear. But February 2nd, my son's eyes was red from breathing it in, and that's why we contacted the landlord, because he asked me to contact him and not the police. So it hasn't stopped. It's an ongoing issue
Okay. Let me interrupt you
until I move.
hang on. Let me interrupt you for a second.
Mhm.
Ms. King, can you remute for one moment, Ms. Morse?
Okay.
Ms. King, before you unmute, I'm going to ask you my question because I think it's when I'm talking that there's the feedback. So I forgot to ask you the same basic question that I asked Ms. Morris, and that is it's sort of your side of it, which is what I'm hearing from you is that you are not smoking in the unit. And that there is smoking outside, but maybe within some reasonable, I think you said it was in the car outside. Can you, if the court were to say, how can we all get along? I'm going to say, Ms. Morse, I'm going to say you can't smoke in the unit, and you can't smoke within some amount of space outside the unit. Is that something that you could agree to or could live with, or how would that work from your perspective, Ms. King? Now you can unmute and answer me, please.
Yes, ma'am. It stopped months ago, and I mean completely. He cannot come on the property with it, and he does not. You can shake your head. It's very true. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
stop.
He cannot come on
Stop, Miss, stop. I will mute both of you and end. Can you please mute Ms. King? Okay, let me stop. Ms. Morse, stop. Both of you have been very respectful so far. This is not an opportunity to make faces at each other. That's not what we're doing here. Okay, so let me clarify my question, Ms. King. I heard you say that you are not smoking in the unit, right? And that if there's any smoking, it's outside, but it's within a reasonable distance. And so my question is, if I were to say, okay, Ms. Morse, I'm going to enter an injunction that says nobody's going to smoke in the house and nobody's going to smoke within, say, 10 feet of outside or something like that. It sounds like you could live with that because you're already not doing those things. Is that accurate, Ms. King? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, my phone has a delay. But yes, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I don't have any problem respecting that. I never did. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Morse, I didn't mean to yell at everyone, but the reason I interrupted is because so far y'all have done a good job of addressing me. And in that moment, Ms. King was addressing you because of her perception that you were making faces, and I wanted to cut that off because no, that wasn't an invitation. Stop.
Okay.
That was not an invitation to speak.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that y'all continue to do what you've done so far, which is speak to me, not to each other.
Right.
Anyway, Ms. Morse, did you have anything to add or
Yeah.
to respond regarding Ms. King's willingness to accept a limitation that she not smoke in the unit, and that she not smoke within some distance around it, or, not have her guests do so.
Yes, that's pretty much what the injunction is for, is to just so we could live in a place that I'm paying rent for and not have to have health issues. So that's what I'm asking for. And I apologize, me shaking my head, I didn't think that was gonna cause an issue, so I do apologize. But
Okay. Okay. So other than that one moment where I sort of jumped on everybody, maybe unfairly, I do want to thank you both for being very civil and professional about this whole thing. It sounds like there is a lot of disagreement and history between the two parties. And I really appreciate your willingness to try and present it in a, as clean and direct a way as possible. In here's what I'm left with. What I'm left with is that Ms. King is technically in default, right? Which means she didn't answer the complaint. So she didn't technically dispute the factual allegations that are in the complaint. But what I have to do is, as I mentioned a moment ago, determine if the factual allegations actually, if I assume they're all true, do they justify an injunction? And then what I'm also left with is, it sounds as if Ms. King is like, I'm already not smoking in the unit, and we're already not smoking in some reasonable distance around the house. And so if Ms. Morse wants an order that says that, then that's okay with me. And so those are the two things that I'm looking at. And I do have one question. So I took the liberty while I was talking with you of Googling the address just so I could see the house. And so I am curious, like, it looks like there's a driveway that goes along the side of the house. But that what I would consider a true front door is actually on the side of the house, right? And that y'all are, and so one question I have is, like, is there a back area that I can't see from the road that, like, people are hanging out? Is, like, there a deck or a patio, or is it just a driveway where people hang out?
it's just an open backspace.
Okay.
And sometime it would be about 5 people back there smoking and drinking. I'm in the back, so that also affects my unit. It won't affect hers. No one's smoking on the front yard. They're all in the back or on the side of the house or on the front porch, which gives me the direct backflow of whatever they're smoking.
Well, I understand, and I wanted to make sure I had an understanding of what that what that property looked like, so I could have some understanding. And not for nothing, I mean, it's a shame that either of you should have to move, but it also seems like, Ms. Morse, if you are particularly, you and your son are particularly sensitive to these issues, that you might want to look into getting a place that is not attached to another person's house. And
Right.
I know that that's easy to say and maybe harder to do. But it is something that it seems like y'all should, um, hopefully that will resolve in the future if you are looking at, different housing. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and look at the complaint, make sure I'm satisfied that the factual allegations of the complaint deemed admitted would justify the entry of an injunction. And if it does, what I'm going to do is enter an order that says Ms. King has agreed, if that's okay with you, Ms. King, that she will not smoke in the unit, and ensure that others do not smoke in her unit, and that Ms. King will not, she will direct her guests and herself to not smoke within some distance around the building. I think 25 feet is probably too much, because my view of the building is that 25 feet to the side would put you in the neighbor's yard to either side, and 25 feet forward would put you in the street. Or I don't know what the back of the property looks like, but probably on somebody else's property in the back. And so I think that's a little bit unreasonable. And so if I do, it would probably be more like 10 or 15 feet. But ultimately, you know, it's my hope that the parties can just try to get along a little bit better. It sounds as if there's been some progress made and that things have improved somewhat, even from Ms. Morse.
Yes.
And so I'm hopeful that that will continue. And so that's what I'm going to do. After I'm going to end this hearing now. And then what I will do is at the end of the day, sometime today, I will enter an order, and it will include those limitations. And then I will just instruct the parties to continue to abide by that until we're no longer living next to one another. Now that will be, it's not going to be a permanent injunction. It is going to be 60 days worth of injunction. And hopefully that will resolve the issue. But if there needs to be an extension of that injunction, you guys could agree to it. Or Ms. Morse, you could reach out to the court and ask for an extension of that, because it can't be forever, because that would deprive Ms. King of some of the rights that she has as a tenant at that
Right.
unit. And so it can only be temporary. And so that's what I'm going to do. Understand maybe everybody doesn't agree with my ruling, but does everybody understand what my ruling is? Ms. Morse,
Yes.
Ms. King? Is that a nod? Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much again for being so civil and professional. I really do appreciate it. And I will get that order on file. And I hope that you guys are able to move forward more positively and not continue to have any disagreements. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.